Good day and welcome to another episode of the Director's Chair Network podcast. This is the season we are covering the films of Terrence Malick, and I have with me today a very special guest, returning guest, Hughezy. How are you doing?
Quite good. And no, this film is not the name of a documentary about my underwear this morning. Thank you. How are you doing, Ryan?
Doing very well. The last time we were together, we covered great Michael Mann film, Ferrari. Are you recovered from that one yet?
I've come to this conclusion where, I still do go to the cinema quite a lot, but there's often there's films I don't go see in the cinema where I go, I wish I'd have gone to see that. I wish I'd have, and then I do end up seeing it and they stink, and you go, wow, I actually was kind of right at the time.
Okay, well, I'm hoping, fingers crossed. I know you kind of hinted at something when you messaged me, but I'm hoping, Hughezy, that this was a better viewing experience than Ferrari, The Thin Red Line by Terrence Malick. His third film. Before we get into the film discussion, what is your history, if any, of the filmmaker, director, Terrence Malick?
Well, it was about 2003 when I first started studying media and film at a college. So it was like overnight. It was kind of like in The Matrix when Neo was getting I know Kung Fu, getting all that stuff. Well, that's what it was like. You're getting all this film knowledge coming at once. You're hearing about these like international filmmakers and all this stuff. And you always hear about, Terrence Malick. And so I always thought, wow, he must be something else the way he's spoken about. And then I saw The New World.
Sure.
And I was like, this was crap.
Oh.
But then I was thinking, well, maybe his next film will be better. And that was a while off. It was The Tree of Life,
yes,
which seemed to be in production for like 7 years or something. So I thought, wow, this is going to be like a moment in time to see this.
Oh, good. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on that one. Go ahead.
It was shit.
Oh, okay.
But then everyone always talks about, The Thin Red Line and all this stuff. And then I watched it. I didn't like it at all.
All right. Well, this is going to be a fun discussion. I can't wait to discuss this film with you. My journey is a little bit different than yours. I saw this film, Hughezy, when it came out in 1998 in the theater. And I was 23 at the time, for context. So I was a young lad. Fell in love with it. I fell in love with the poetry, the cinematography, the score. But I do have, funny enough, and I hate that I'm going to say this because this is where I'm a little bit nervous, because I feel like some of the things you're going to say, I'm going to agree with, in that I rewatched it again for the probably 15th time. I've seen this movie numerous times. Oh yeah, this is I've watched this movie in almost 30 years. I guess 27 years it's been out. I've seen it at least 10 to 15 times in 27 years. It's a film I go back to when I'm in the mood just to feel moved again, to feel things. It's funny to me because I'm doing a podcast episode on it. I found myself a little bit more critical, or I found myself, in more scenes than I thought I was going to do. So we're going to go through. I think what's going to happen here, this movie's tricky because there's so many freaking, that's one of my criticisms. There's so many cameos and notable faces in this film. I like to talk about who's in it, what they bring to us, what they brought to the film. When you saw the cast, what was your understanding of the cast names versus what you saw in the film? Like when you saw George Clooney's name, were you surprised by the amount of screen time, or were you happy with it, or both?
I was happy he wasn't in it more. I can't stand George Clooney. One of the things I meant to say is that I became fascinated by film lore. You always hear about how James Cameron, even though he's my favorite director, how his productions are nightmares.
Right.
And how somebody actually almost died on The Abyss, and then on Titanic, it was like he was basically trying to, in real life, do shots multiple times per day that even in CG, people find difficult to do. And he would be like, no, we're doing it. We're figuring it. And it's like, okay. So I became fascinated by that. And I remember reading about production of this film, that like the pre-production went on for so long, and how Bruce Willis, even at one point, was so desperate for a meeting or a role, even personally financed an audition process.
Oh, wow.
So that he get, and it's all this, and then you hear about how we had these like script readings with all these giant name actors of the time, and Nicolas Cage and stuff. It's just, there's an unbelievable you can actually sense the pretentiousness
Hmm.
coming off the screen when you watch it, and it reminds me a lot of Christopher Nolan these days. In that, like, if you look at the cast for Oppenheimer, it's unbelievable. The cast were like, what's the guy Rami Malek who won the Oscar for Bohemian Rhapsody? He goes from the lead of an Oscar, winning an Oscar, to I think he has like a 3-line role in Oppenheimer. Like, did it really need to be him, or was it just so that Christopher Nolan could have this unbelievable list of names at the red carpet
Sure.
premiere?
Right.
And that's what it felt like to me. And then you hear about how the original cut of this film is 5 hours long,
Yeah.
and you just think, how's that even possible?
Well,
How
yeah.
did you write a 5 hour long script and think, no problem, this will all be usable? And then the fact that, as you mentioned, George Clooney was in it. I think he's in it for what, 40 seconds. Adrian Brody was supposed to be the lead, doesn't actually speak.
You're absolutely right about the casting, because what happened was it had been so long, 20 years since his previous film. Terrence Malick, he left the industry, not terrible way, but he felt overwhelmed, I think, by his last film, Days of Heaven. I don't know if you've seen his first two films, Days of Heaven or Badlands.
No.
Okay, I would recommend, after your journey that you've said so far about Terrence, I think it's interesting. You're kind of going backwards, which is interesting. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. I can see why there was a clamoring, is what I'm getting at. When he did those two films, Badlands and Days of Heaven, they're incredible films. They're really good films. Objectively, they're good films. Especially Days of Heaven, you're starting to see in Days of Heaven even more. Badlands is his most concise, precise type film. He writes all of his own scripts. But the way he directs and the way he directs his actors in Days of Heaven, he definitely carried over into this film, The Thin Red Line. But he just took a break from directing films, but he still wrote, he still did art and things like that. He's a creator. He kind of just went into the recluse. So when he came out in the 90s saying, hey, I'm kind of interested in doing films again, yeah, producers were clamoring for him, sent him scripts, books, ideas, stuff like that. But he did choose this book, which is a James Jones novel called The Thin Red Line. I was such a movie buff in the 90s and before. I still am, but I mean, when I was younger, before kids, all that stuff took over my life, I was really fascinated with, I love war films in general. And so when I heard that this recluse director was the first I heard of him because of this film, was coming out of retirement, so to speak, to do this film with all these big name actors, I actually went and read the book first. I got all the names of the cast and what roles they were playing. So when I read the book, I got excited, who was going to do what in the film. And I was thinking, I don't know how they're going to fit all this into a film, right? So I read the book, loved the book. And of course, the movie is completely different, more or less, in the book. The same kind of feeling of the book, but it's just, there's so much that's cut out. The reason why, Hughezy, that there were so many actors, big names that we see on the screen, is because the studio was nervous about this guy who's been out of the business for 20 years. It's kind of a big production. They wanted 5 names that they could plaster, just like you said, on the red carpet. They wanted 5 big names that would be like John Travolta. So we'll start with him. So John Travolta was the ones that were like, hey, we got to keep in mind, this is 98. Maybe John Travolta's name isn't as strong now, but in 98, it was pretty strong. So he did the brief cameo at the beginning, playing Brigadier General Howard Quintard.
I admire you, Colonel. I do.
Thank you, sir.
Most men your age would have retired by now. It's okay. We need general officers with maturity and character like you. We've got good sergeants, we've got good lieutenant colonels. Once a man gets those eagles, he can't wait to get that star, kid. He becomes a politician, right? Goes along to get along. So goddamn hard to stay upright.
You said it there, sir.
With the Admiral watching, which he will be. There's always someone watching. Like a hawk. Always someone ready to jump in if you're not.
What did you think of John's performance alongside Nick Nolte there? What do you think of him?
Well, I think your speech there was longer than John Travolta's role.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, but that's more about the film. Like that's the whole thing. I don't understand the logic of writing a script so massive to have all the, like, any filmmaker would know they're never going to let me make a 5-hour film.
He wrote a script that the studio approved. He then banned the producers of the same film from ever coming on set because the script was thrown out when filming began. He does the script on the fly with his actors. I'm just saying to answer your question, that's what happened.
Yeah, see that's the problem. You said that Terrence Malick was like disillusioned with the industry after his second film. I think he just locked himself in a room for 20 years and was getting high off his own farts. I was reading up on him in the run up to this and how in those 20 years, or not in those 20 years, but throughout the 90s, he signed a lot of contracts and took a lot of meetings. And I want to be flown to Paris for a meeting. It's like, why Paris? Why do you have to be flown to Paris? Why can't we just meet at the KFC? He's a pretentious dick. And I remember after the Tree of Life, I watched half of To the Wonder. And I thought, what is this? Am I watching it with an audio commentary? Or is this the shit film this idiot wrote? And this the thin red line, when you look at all that cast, and not to be super pretentious, but I'm so smart and better than everyone.
Wow.
First job when I get into the industry was as an editor. So I notice edits very easable.
Easable is word. It's an easy edit. You could say it's editable and easy, so it's an easable. I think that works.
That's exactly what I said.
Yes.
But so I can tell when edits are happening, and I can tell when the dialogue track, I should say the audio, has suddenly gone from on set to ADR, and I could notice what was happening a lot in this film, and I thought it was such a baffling choice, like really from the off, and also very poor editing, where you could see someone, like we'd be on screen and I would be talking to you, and then it would cut to an over shoulder shot, and this will be for YouTube. We'll move the camera to show this. So Ryan would be standing here where my hand is showing.
Yeah.
But then you would see my mouth going,
right.
Well, you couldn't hear what I'm saying, and Ryan keeps speaking, and it's like, or you could just go to another shot, like a close-up, so that we visibly can't see that you poorly edited out this guy's dialogue. I couldn't believe that, and it was specifically in a later scene with Nick Nolte, where I remember, because I'm partially deaf, my left ear.
Oh.
I remember cranking the volume up full thing, because I was like, this guy's mouth is moving, and Nick Nolte's reacting to what he's saying, but I cannot hear him. So, and I was like putting the subtitles on, and it was like, like, this is really badly done. But of course, we're not allowed to say that because it's Terrence Malick. Ooh, it's a war film. Yeah, all right, you arsehole.
I'm so glad he chose this film. This is fantastic. This is great. I mean, look.
Thick brown line. Got him.
Drop the mic. But we got more to do. We got more to cover. You ready to go?
Oh,
so, Travolta, this is interesting. Now, speaking of Days of Heaven, the film 20 years previous, Travolta was actually initially cast to be in that film, but he had to turn it down due to his contractual obligation to Welcome
Easy
Back
for
Carter.
you to say.
Do you ever watch the show Welcome Back Carter with John Travolta?
I never did, but I have seen all three Look Who's Talking's multiple times.
Okay, almost the same quality. Almost the same quality. Okay, so it was a 70s show. He was the lead actor in that. He played a high school kid in Mr. Carter's class. I saw it as a kid on reruns, but that being said, he couldn't do Days of Heaven. And check out this quote. I just thought this quote was hilarious from Mr. Travolta. You tell me if this is pretentious.
It is. Go ahead.
Oh, you haven't heard the quote yet, Hughezy. I don't know if you're ready to make that commitment. He said, Terrence Malick, he hired me for Heaven. I couldn't do it. It broke his heart. And he never wanted to do a movie again. It was the most romantic notion I'd ever heard. So John's equating Terrence Malick's 20-year sabbatical to his inability to commit to the Days of Heaven. Is that amazing?
It's no wonder that the film industry is in such a horrible state right now. Like, all actors are dicks. It's just that it's become so obvious now. But saying stuff like that, I remember, not to change the topic, but I remember there was a thing that leaked out where Daniel Day-Lewis initially rejected the role of Abraham Lincoln to Spielberg, and he sent him this letter explaining why he didn't want the role, and just the way he's like, you know, with the quality of life that I live and I feel. It's like, shut the fuck up, you arsehole.
Hughezy, they're actors. They're important people. Don't you understand?
I would rather a third Danny Zuko film or whoever he played in Saturday Night Fever. I would like to see him trying
the
to
trilogy. I like a trilogy.
Yeah, we had Saturday Night Fever, Staying Alive.
That's right.
And well, the third one could be called
Nearly
It Still
Dead?
Fits.
Or Nearly Dead.
Yeah, Flogging My Dolphin.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea. They're doing a lot of these reboots and sequels 40 years later. We could have a third Staying Alive. That's a great idea. Just for context, though, at this time, just before this film was out, he was in Primary Colors, A Civil Action, Face Off in 97. So John's star was high. So when he's in this film, there's probably a lot of people like, oh, there he is with the mustache, John Travolta. And then he went on to do Battlefield Earth afterwards. I don't know if you saw that one.
But many times, it's really good. That's one of my problems with this film is that every character is the same. There's a bit that we'll get into later on with Sean Penn.
Yes.
It's so cringe-inducing. So many characters have such small screen time that you're thinking, oh, well, this is obviously setting up something for later in the film, and this will happen. It's like, no, they just come on, they talk about a military idea, then they go for a walk around the location and look at something while a voiceover plays it like, will I ever see you again? Do you ever want? It's like, shut up.
Are you a romantic, Hughezy?
Of course. But that's the thing, though. But with these types of films, you have all these characters talking about their missed loved ones and their wives and their girlfriends, but we only see one wife. If The Thin Red Line was about a soldier during the war, this would be great instead of it being what's the term, an ensemble.
Now, the next actor, I don't really know him from anything, but I just thought his character was interesting. His name is John Savage, the actor. He's the guy that kind of played the one that mentally went off his rocker a little bit. He kept like talking, you know which guy I'm talking about. The crazy guy is like, I'm going this way, and he's like muttering to himself, and he's kind of bonkers.
That's all there is for us. That's us. I lost all 12. 12 of them. It's insanity up there. I told him what to do. I showed him where to go, and I gave him a push. I don't know who's in charge here, but don't let him go. Don't let him go. I'm out of here. Take him back. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. All right, move, feet. Move. Move. I'm moving now. Don't touch. Don't look at me. Don't touch. Okay, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Do you recognize him or have anything? I mean, I didn't know if you wanted to say anything about him. I don't even know what he's really been in. I looked it up, of course. I've seen him in movies, but I just thought his character was interesting or different, but I admit, kind of annoying. Because I don't know, are we supposed to think it's funny? I think the idea is to show that he's losing his mind in war. That's, of course, it's kind of classic. I found it a little, I admit, it wasn't as powerful or as showing how you lose it in war. I don't know. Not much more to say about his character. He played the Sergeant Jack McCron. He's the guy that gets unhinged a little bit.
That is a perfect example of the problem of the film. This guy turns up and his entire character, beginning, middle, and end arc is done within 7 minutes. When Michael Bay does a film, people criticize it for being too fast-paced, and they would be right. But this is exactly what happened in this Thin Red Line.
The name Larry Romano mean anything to you? He played Private Leonardo Mozzi. He was the kind of the Italian guy.
I never bargained for nothing like this when I signed up for this man's army back in the Bronx before the war. How was I supposed to know there was gonna be a fucking war, huh? Answer me that. All I know is old Charlie Company's always getting screwed, always, and I can tell you whose fault it is, too. It's that captain of ours.
I only know him because I'm a huge King of Queens fan, so I recognized him from, he was like a side character of the King of Queens. That's
exactly, when I rewatched this the other week, that stuck out to me the most because he was terrible on the King of Queens. And I just remember watching this going, he got cast in this, but fucking Mickey Rourke was cut out.
Hughezy, you speak the truth. I appreciate your bluntness, and you're absolutely correct. He is terrible, the King of Queens. I love the King of Queens. I actually think Kevin James is hilarious, and I think Lee Remini is beautiful, and I love that show very much. But his side character is not funny in that show at all. He's not a comedic actor, and it turns out he's also not a dramatic actor. So I don't know how he got this role.
Yeah. I don't even know if he understands he was an actor. I think he thought he was actually joining the Navy or whatever. And then this shit
He
turned
might have
fucking
been.
camera.
Now, did you recognize John C. Reilly, of course, in this film?
Yes, Walk Hard may be the greatest film that has ever been made. Anyone who thinks differently is a scumbag who needs to be investigated.
Okay.
I did find his facial hair bizarre in this because it was so weak and thin that it was like, well, why don't you just not have it? He did a film in the 80s with Sean Penn about the military called Casualties of War.
Yo, great film.
Yeah. And it's like, it's a dark story that will not, just seeing him again in, military garb with Sean Penn, it just makes you go, oh.
So you're thinking of a better film when you watch this film. Is that what you're saying?
Thinking of a better film while being reminded of a much darker character.
Oh,
and not to be anti-military, but it does make you realize that there's sometimes what do you call it, crimes of war.
Well, yeah, I've always said this about when that happens. Of course, Casualty of War is it's a very hard film to watch. Very well directed by Brian De Palma, who we've covered. Not me, but I've had another host cover his films on this podcast feed. That is a hard film to watch, and I think that'd be one that I'd like to watch again. But I've always said this though about crimes and war. Hughezy is there's crimes in the public. People commit crimes here on our soil, wherever country you're from, and these same people just join the military. So it's not like it's not that war creates criminals. It's just criminals join the military, and they end up almost being authorized to some degree because they're not on their home soil. And it's almost like that's why Michael J. Fox's character was not wanting to do this stuff because he was good before he left. There's people. That's what I'm trying to get at. It's that it doesn't necessarily make a good person bad. I just think bad people become more bad in war. If that makes sense. Okay. So yeah. So John C. Reilly plays Sergeant Maynard Storm.
No matter how much training you got, how careful you are, it's a matter of luck whether or not you get killed. Make no difference who you are. How tough a guy you might be, you're in the wrong spot at the wrong time, you're gonna get it. I look at that boy dying, I don't feel nothing. I don't care about nothing anymore.
This is what he has to say about Malick. He says, check this out. He goes, it was like he was gathering moments, just taking with him. And then he'd go back and say, let's turn this into a movie. This is on Malick's, the way he improvises on the fly. Oh, Malick said this to John C. Reilly that goes, I just want to let you know that we're cutting your part way down. He gave John C. Reilly a heads up.
What he said makes total sense because there's an infamous deleted scene from this film that leaked online.
Really?
Of when I'm pretty sure it's Jim Caviezel's character. There's like two battalions walking past each other. What do you call groups? Mickey Rourke is one of the soldiers, and him and Jim Caviezel get speaking about Jim Caviezel's home life. You can find it online, and it's just.
I remember you. You don't want the kind eyes.
It's mining country.
You miss it?
Oh, yeah.
What do you miss?
I miss my home in Breathitt County.
Bet you get a lot of friends, huh?
I miss them. I miss my family.
You got a big family.
When are you going home?
What does it take not to burn you out? Go ahead, roll it, motherfucker. I got a headache. I mean, they keep hitting me in the head. And I'm supposed to sit up straight, and be quiet. I have something I gotta say.
And it's just so weird that this scene would even happen. because like you could almost even tell on set this is going like this is never making the cut.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
the deleted scene's not very good.
no, just it's so redundant. The dialogue where Mickey Rourke's like, "Hey, you miss your family? You got a big family? I bet you got a lot of friends." And they're talking about that stuff, and it's just like, who said I've got a great idea for a scene?
Well, that was probably Terrence Malick telling him, just talk about something when you meet each other on the road. He probably didn't write them anything. He said, talk to him about his family. That's probably what happened. And then he filmed it. Well, you know what it's like? I'll say this. I'm not saying that approach can't work or even look, I know and that's fine. I know you're shiting over the film. I thought there's moments I love this film still, but again, everything you're saying, I see why you're saying it. I think this film is more of a it is poetry. I know it sounds corny to say that. And I'm not saying that necessarily works all the time too. There was times when I'm watching this film. Yeah, I wish, because he does have a good cinematography and he has a good eye for film and he does all of this great talent around him. There was moments in the film where we had these tight moments of storytelling and motion and battle. And it's like the firefights were pretty good. When they're storming the Japanese camp, I love that moment, this musical score, the way it picks up, the way they just go, the American troop goes running through and they're mowing down Japanese soldiers. You got people crying, begging for mercy, meditating. The two different cultures sort of clashing. And then when they took the hill with the machine guns, there's moments in this film where I felt like, boy, I wish we almost had two different films. I wish we had the film, like a tight Malick film where he just was able to focus on somebody's journey throughout this. It could have, I think it should have been, and I'm glad it kind of was Jim Caviezel's character, which we'll get to, but I kind of wish we just had a tighter focus because there's moments in this film where I think it's what makes it frustrating for maybe viewers like you. And even for me, after many views, it's like, okay, I get the poetry. I get the cinematography. I get all that. But I kind of wish there was a tighter moments and cut down another hour of film. Just give me the battles and stuff. Yeah. What do you think of that?
To me, the story that this film should have been was, and I'll probably mispronounce his name here, Elias Koteas or Koteas or whatever.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Elias Koteas or something.
Yeah, his character and Nick Nolte's character. I thought it would have been better if it was a story about I don't know the rank system, but the number one and the number two of a battalion not getting along.
Yeah,
or struggling for power at a very important thing. Like this is going to sound lazy, but when the action is the best part of a film, that means your film is crap. And I felt that should have been the story of this battle of power during a proposed, the taking of the hill. And the other thing is, and this is super pretentious to say this, but we've seen so many action films in regards to war that those sequences don't impress me anymore. It's like we've seen this. Sure. I'm not saying I could do it, but even your most average director could go do a war scene. Well, what needed for this to be a more interesting story needed to be what happens when the guns are down, and to me, it just wasn't.
Now, the next person on the list, I think you probably recognize this actor, Mr. Tim Blake Nelson.
I think we'll catch an air raid.
How in the hell should I know? All I know, them crew guys said they didn't catch no air raid the last time they made this run. On the other hand, time before last, they nearly got blew up. What do you want me to tell you?
You're a big help, Tills.
Yes, the leader, as I like to call him, from The Incredible Hulk.
Oh, sorry. When you said the leader, I was like, the leader of this ragtag group? No, okay. Was that his character in The Incredible Hulk, the leader?
No spoilers, but yes.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to spoil that film. I thought he was really great in Old Brother, We're Out, though. Speaking of which, with Mr. George Clooney. Good character actor. This is what he had to say about Mr. Malick. He says, that was like film school for me. So many of us in that movie ended up barely being in the movie, even though we spent 5.5 months in Australia with Terrence Malick. It became obvious early on that Terry had really brought a group of us over there to pull from and improvise on a daily basis what this movie was going to be. The script is really something that's handed into the studio to get them to agree to give him the money and then go make the movie, which is really going to be written as he makes it. So it was Tim that kind of further explained for me anyways, that was Terrence Malick's style. Was like, got the green light from the studio, Terrence again banned the producers from seeing how the production was. He actually banned the producer. I can't believe he was able to do that. It was in his contract that the producers couldn't be on the set.
That just goes back to the pretentiousness, and that's see, and you hear about that stuff with Francis Ford Coppola, where he's like, "Oh, I need to be the boss on the set." It's like, well, how's this working out for you? Because if you look at Malick's career since this, it's been failure after failure.
It's going to be interesting to cover those films and what my co-host will bring to the table. You don't have to worry, Hughezy. They're all been taken. You don't have to come on again. I'll get you all my next directors that I'm covering, which I haven't decided just yet. But yeah, you're off the hook for any further investigation. Though I do encourage you to see his first 2 films, just so you can have something maybe good to say about Mr. Malick before the season's over.
No. So
okay.
there.
Okay, I'll copy that. All right. Then the other actor that his name is Dash Mahawk, and I don't know if you'd recognize him or I would know his name, but he's one of those faces you see in films. Oh yeah, that guy. He was the redheaded guy that grabbed the handgun. He was really big on the handgun. That soldier.
Well, I'm on my way to get me that pistol.
Yeah? We'll have fun.
Yeah, have fun.
You'll wish you had one once we get ashore and run into some of them samurai sabers.
I remember him because he was in the modern day classic, The Day After Tomorrow, which I think is one of the most underrated blockbusters ever made. I remember at the time that was so groundbreaking. I thought it looked so real. Yeah, he's one of these guys, as you say. He's one of those guys.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, like he's been in the hit TV show and he had the supporting role in the good film and stuff. He technically is the second lead in this film.
Oh, well, not that. I would say he's in the top 5. Yeah, he's up there. He has a lot of screen time. It's interesting who Terrence decided to cut and who he decided to keep. And some of the choices I'm happy with, some I'm not so happy with. But he seemed to like Mr. Dash's performance as that guy. And this is what Dash had to say about Malick. He said he's all those things. He can turn on a dime and be mean, and then he's the sweetest guy in the world. Everyone at the end of the day took their marching orders from Terrence Malick.
Well, he really told a great story. That must have been a fun interview that day.
Well, I think that was actually taken from the Criterion interviews on the DVD.
I hate those things. One of my jobs was we used to edit these things called the APKs, electronic press kits, but they would also be like basically like short documentaries that would explain whatever your company's about, and they would just be full of all these like, I've had a wonderful time and the atmosphere is great and
all right, yeah, I know. They're fluff pieces. Everyone's patting each other on the back. You very rarely get like, yeah, the guy was kind of a dick. I didn't like working with him. Very rarely you get that kind of candid response.
I know you want to talk about the classic, what's her Tara Reid comedy she did with Ashton Kutcher called Who's the Boss? You remember that classic? And there's a great interview where she says, everybody was so nice on set and I just really wanted to work with Ashton and I had such a great time. And it's like we know you're probably high as a kite.
I was going to say, was she sober during that interview, or was that your sober Tara?
If she was awake, so no. That's why actor interviews, you just need to read it in. Just say, will you see the twist in this story? Not, I had a wonderful time experiencing the art of acting. It's like, did you? Because all you did was record commentaries during this pile of shit.
Now we're going to talk about your favorite Joker, Jared Leto. What do you think of his performance in this film?
It's weird to see it because Jared Leto used to be able to act, and I don't understand what it is that's changed for him. Like
he's a rock star now. That's
lucky us. What a great band. We all love those songs. Yeah, no, he went through a phase of being this great actor. You could look at him and think he's going to become one of the greats. And instead, he went on to become what was the vampire film he did again?
Yeah, Morbius.
Did
you see that tentpole feature Marvel film, whatever, to make that kind of a dark Marvel series? You never see.
He became the worst Joker of all time. I mean, do you remember he had what was it, damage tattoo across his forehead? Oh no, he's gonna be fucking insane if he's got that written on him.
It's no small wonder that Margot Robbie's character fell in love with him. It's no small wonder I would have fallen in love with him. He's a bad boy.
Oh, I'm scared even thinking about him. Don't mess with Jared Leto's Joker.
Now, I do have a funny, not really funny. So I dragged my poor ex-wife, of course, my wife at the time, my ex-wife now, but I dragged her to this film, and I think I sold it to her on two people that she liked, or maybe still does, but at the time she was big fans of John Cusack, and she's a big fan of Jared Leto because of the My So-Called Life TV series. She loved Claire Danes from that, and Jared from that. She was in love with the guy. He's a good looking guy. I get it. And so I took her to this, and Jared gets a very small little cameo. He leads a little ragtag group to take the hill. And lo and behold, none of us, here's the thing. We saw all these names on the poster. So we don't know how long or not long these people will be in the film. So Jared, at the beginning, there was the first indication like, oh, their name might be somewhere near the top, but they're not going to be in it for very long. Jared was killed, spoiler alert.
But that part on the hill, now, I'm not making fun of soldiers, because if there was ever a draft, I'm going to break my hands because I'm not joining the army. I will have an anxiety attack. I don't have the balls to do it, to be in the military. But that scene of him where basically they know they're being shot at, they know they're snipers, and he's now telling people, okay, run.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're all shot dead. It's like, what's the logic of that? Did you deliberately allow yourselves to be sacrificed to expose the shooters, or was there some sort of alternative plan? I find that very strange.
Yeah, it might not have been the best plan of attack. They followed orders and people died. So Jared had this to say about Mr. Malick. This one is legit bonkers. I had to reread it a few times to understand what he was saying. Before I read it, I want you to guess, is Jared Leto pretentious or not as well? Do you think he's pretentious?
Yes.
Or no? But I haven't read it to you yet. How can you be so sure?
Well, I'll tell you what was weird about him. It's not gay to admit when a man is good looking.
No, not at all. You're a good looking man, Hughezy. There you go.
I am. Thank you. You're gay. But the thing is that he was so good looking that when he was cast in the DC as the Joker, I thought they could have cast him as Wonder Woman.
Oh, wow.
Because I remember when he played the trans person in Dallas Buyers Club.
Oh,
and I was just like, I'm down.
Sure, that's fair.
He's got a nice arse on him. I'd do it.
Yeah, I never saw that. I don't like watching Matthew McConaughey being so gaunt. Didn't want to see him be so thin. That wasn't my thing. That's why I haven't seen The Machinist with Christian Bale. I don't like watching very, very thin people. That's why I won't watch Wicked.
Well, The Machinist is crap. Like the only interesting thing about it is that Christian Bale lost a load of weight.
Good. I'm glad I haven't seen it. This is what Mr. Leto said about this. He goes, I remember auditioning for Terrence Malick. I literally stood up, took a few imaginary bullets, and shoved the casting director. I said, I can't do this. The casting director was sitting behind a couch, pretending to shoot at Jared's character because he's in that scene where he's going to get shot at. So they say, we want you to react to being shot at. He was so insulted by this. He walks out, moves the casting director out of the way because they're using improv with the up-ended couch and fake guns. That he moves him or her aside. The casting director says, I can't do this. However, he goes on to say, and then Terrence calls me. He's the most gentle and amazing guy in the world. And he's like, Jared, we want you to do it anyway. The balls on this kid. He was insulted, Hughezy, by them shooting fake bullets at him during the audition process that he left at that age and stage in his career.
I, too, am insulted that those bullets were fake.
I can't believe he's actually admitting this. This is him quoting himself that he was, but he goes, it's a bit of a humble brag. Oh, but Terrence calls me back and says, we need you to come back.
Yeah.
So what did you think of that? Do you like Jared more or less now?
He basically is the new version of what Nicolas Cage became in the 2000s when Nick Cage had to take every role possible for money, and everybody just laughed at him despite the fact that there was still some pretty good performances out there. Jared Leto is a joke of a person, and he's got Johnny Depp syndrome in that he was very handsome and cool in his day, but he's not been able to let it go. So now he's just like a creepy, weird-looking guy. His ego is showing as his looks are fading. He would get away with it back in the day because even we would all look at him and go, oh, fuck, I'd bang him.
All right. Speaking of bangable actors, Woody Harrelson, the guy who's been 35 to 50 his whole life. I love Woody. I think he's a great actor. I hope you do too. I think he's a great actor. I think he's just found himself maybe for a good reason, and a lot of great films, a lot of great directors. However, his death scene in this film is one of the weaker parts of the film. I did not like how he blew himself up with a grenade. He pulls the pin. What do you think of the death? I think it actually happened in the book, if I remember correctly, to his character this way. But I found Woody doing it. I wouldn't say comedic was the right word. He's kind of known, obviously, for Cheers and other comedies. But I think maybe it was a bit of a miscast, making him the one that goes that way. What are your thoughts on his death and Woody as an actor?
Yeah, the thing that I thought was strange about that scene was, I do like Woody Harrelson as an actor, but I hate the fact that he always seems to be talking with food in his mouth.
Sure.
It always sounds like he's got like a giant ball of gum at once that he's moving to one side of his mouth so that he can talk. The fact that this guy, so when he blew his arse off and they didn't show blood or whatever, like,
well, did you want to see it?
In instances like this, I think it would have helped because that's kind of would make you laugh when somebody goes, "I blew my ass off." And considering the other violence in the film, that if we're meant to feel bad about this guy dying,
he's funny about he has violence in his films. He's odd about what he shows and what he doesn't show. I mean, there's that one scene with the dead bodies on the ground, like in the field. They're just like mutilated, like out of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre type body mutilation. But then you're right. Then they don't show the scene of him any kind of real, like, it's almost a cheat because they didn't have to do any makeup or anything. They just film above his waist. You just imagine what it looks like, I guess.
Yeah, and this scene specifically had a very weird part where when I started really noticing how Terrence Malick's cutting all the dialogue out, where him and Woody Harrelson just seemed to be like looking at each other going like this for long, well, maybe not long sections at a time, but like 15 seconds at a time of them just sort of staring at each other as Woody's dying. It was quite obvious that there was dialogue there and that there was a back and forth because you could see their emotions changing. So that they're emotionally acting to dialogue that was cut out of the final cut. And I was just watching that thinking, like, this is ridiculous.
Okay, fair enough. Now, this is what Harrelson said about Malick. You ready? He goes, "I stayed a month after I was done shooting just to work with him, or just to watch him work. Terry is a true artist. He doesn't direct a movie. He bursts it. He called the experience the most profound creative thing I've ever been a part of, at least at the time. Maybe he's done something since 98.
Venom 2.
Yeah, there you go. Next, we have John Cusack, of course. I brought him up earlier. He had a bit role in this one.
Oh, sir, I've got a few recommendations for decorations I'd like to turn into you.
Yes, John. We're gonna get everything for all of them that we can, but later. Would you like to take command of Baker Company over on the left?
Of course. Sir, I don't mean to be a wet blanket or anything like that, but about the water, if we don't get some water to these...
Don't worry about water.
They could, they could die from it.
Well, they could die from enemy fire, too.
Good actor. I think John's a great actor. What did you think of John's role as Captain John Gaff?
I forgot he was in it until you just mentioned it right now. Like, I honestly, legitimately can't remember one thing he did in it.
He was the guy that led the attack up the hill, the attack that worked. And then Nick Nolte's character is like, I'm going to give you an award for this. You deserve all the credit for this and type thing. And he was a favorite of Nick Nolte's character. Okay.
Good for him.
Okay, so this is what John Cusack said about Malick. He goes, "Terry doesn't make movies. He makes poetry with light and sound. He'd whisper a line in your ear right before action, and you just go with it. No discussion, no rehearsal. The best director I've ever worked with, no contests," says John Cusack.
Well, I wish he'd have gone up to John Cusack's ear and whispered to him, "You're an overrated hack. Apart from Gross Point Blank, everything you do is the exact same." What's the film he did in 2001? High Fidelity?
Well, yeah, that's right, with Jack Black.
Yeah, I wish somebody had said, "You're going to look like a complete dickhead in 2001, dressing like an 80s teenager. You stink and you're going to get investigated."
Oh, wow. He's an interesting one. I don't mind him. I don't go out to see his films, but when he's in the film, I don't mind it. He was great in the 80s. I think it's early 90s for sure. Here we go. This is the ultimate cameo flex. We talked about it earlier. George Clooney. So Terrence called him. This is what Terrence said to George on the phone. He goes, "I need someone the audience trusts to close the movie. Can you fly to Australia tomorrow?" So Clooney, he canceled the DR shoot for the day. He flew for 22 hours, shot for one day, and flew back to the ER set.
I know you men have been making and drinking this goddamn swipe. That's okay by me. Any man in an outfit of mine can get as drunk as he wants to every night, as long as he's ready and in shape to make reveille and carry out any assignment he is given. If he can't do that, he's gonna have trouble from me. Now, I prefer to think of myself as a family man, and that's what we all are here, whether we like it or not. We are a family. I'm the father. Guess I make Sergeant Welsh here the mother. You all the children in this family. Now, a family can have only one head, and that is the father. Father's the head, mother runs it. That's the way it's gonna work here. If any of you men want to see me about anything at all, you will find that I am available. This war is not going to be over by next Christmas. It's going to be a long time before we get home.
I hate George Clooney. If you go look at his box office returns and stuff like that, he has not had a whole lot of success. Like, if you look at the Ocean's 11's films, he's really never had any box office hits. Yet for some reason, he's still one of the most highest paid actors in Hollywood. And it's like, what are you being paid for? Because you're not bringing the audiences in to warrant that cash. So why are you getting paid all this money? There's something very weird about him.
That's fair.
That's another one of the things about, if you want to talk character-wise, that his character was like a new sergeant or whatever that sort of turned up to belittle the soldiers who had just been through this campaign. One of those things that, again, I mentally could never join an army because I would never be able to do that type of stuff where I couldn't help myself. But what the fuck are you talking about? We get grenades thrown at us and now you're telling us to shut up?
You're right. Sometimes it could be a little bit exhausting when you thought you've given your all and then your leaders are like, I need to squeeze a little bit more out of you. Yeah. So This is what Mr. Clooney had to say about Malick. He said, I would have played a tree if Terry asked me.
I wish he'd have played a tree and leaf. I don't get it.
But I saw that. I was like, I wonder what Hughezy's going to say. And my friend, you nailed it. Okay. George said, one day on a Malick set is worth a year anywhere else. So that's the exchange rate for a Malick film, by the way. Now we have Ben Chaplin. He was in it quite a bit. He was an unknown at the time. I think he's an unknown still. But apparently, Terrence Malick saw him in the film The Truth About Cats and Dogs in 96. So I think with Uma Thurman in that one and Janine Garofalo, I think, where's that film. So Ben Chaplin's in that film. Terrence Malick happened to see that film, goes, hey, I want that guy in my film. That's how he got in there.
We need to get out of here right now. You explain to headquarters situation? No. Do they know where we are? Because we're sitting ducks out here. The fire's coming closer, sir.
That was the one that blew my mind because he was a massive star over here at the time because he had
Ben?
he had a sitcom on the BBC called Game On.
Okay.
I was a huge fan of him. He had a sitcom called Game On, and it was about a guy with agoraphobia. Who was renting his apartment out, rooms in his big apartment to other people, but so he never left the house or the apartment, so he was a bit crazy, a bit wacky, but of course he was one of those typical guys who was like, yeah, I'm tough as anything and I'm really cool, but I'm deathly afraid of standing outside the door. And he quit that show after one season. I think it may have been For the Thin Red Line.
What did you think of him in this film? Because you knew him. Did you think he did good?
I thought he had one of the more interesting stories in it where he's like, I just want to get through this so that I can get home to my wife. And then, of course, and that was the one of the things that his wife, like, how cold is that? He's literally at war. Yeah. You don't even have confirmation he's alive. But at the same time, you're still going to take the risk to say, yeah, by the way, I've been banging some other guy.
Yeah, another Air Force officer or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, you're very likely going to cross paths with him at some point. Also, once you get home from the war, you have nothing to come home to.
Yeah, that's happened. Like, I've seen it in my life where that happens. Did you know who played his wife? Do you recognize that actress?
Oh, yes, she was in Lord of the Rings and War of the Worlds. Miranda Otto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what Ben had to say. But we don't talk about women on this show, by the way, Hughes. That's all we're going to say about her.
Yeah, they're all stupid bitches.
Jeez, I've had to cut that.
Keep it in. I'll say it again.
Fair enough. All right. He said, this is what he had to say about Terrence Malick. He said, he'd lean in and whisper things like, you're thinking about her breasts right now. Seconds before rolling, completely changing the take. He goes on to say, it was the hardest and best thing I've ever done.
Get back to me after you watch the first season of Game On and tell me if Thin Red Line is better.
Adrian Brody. Now, this is a famous... I even remember when this happened, before Adrian Brody was Adrian Brody.
Where's Coons? Get back. Get back, they're coming. Fall back.
Adrian Brody was told at the start of this film and during the filming that he was the star. He was the lead, and his voiceovers was the work. But Terrence, during the editing, and maybe even during the filming, he realized that Jim and his story and his face and his emotion, he chose correctly to make it about Jim Caviezel's story and his journey more than Adrian Brody's playing Corporal Fife. Brody goes to the premiere with his family or friends or whoever. And can you imagine his surprise when he watches this film and all he is he's wide-eyed and scared the whole film and has one line.
Yeah, I think it's quite obvious that him and Terrence Malick didn't get along on set, because that's such a ridiculous choice to have your lead actor completely cut from the film. This was done on purpose. There's a bigger story to this than, thought that Jim Caviezel had a better story. Like, no, you, Terrence Malick, didn't like Adrian Brody, and you deliberately tried to make him look really bad in some of the scenes. I remember there was a scene where I can't remember if it was it was an American soldier's corpse that they find, and he's been completely like, what's the word? Like disfigured, and they've put his tongue in his mouth, all this stuff. They kept cutting to Adrian Brody doing the exact same facial expression. You're going.
So I watched this movie with my two of my sons, 13 and 11-year-old sons. My 11-year-old, he loves movies. He loves these dramas, and he's very keen on just stuff. He's like, he catches things. But every time Adrian Brody's character, he got a kick out of it. Like, he's like laughing. So you have an honest response from a child, 11-year-old kid, laughing. He goes, look, it's the scaredy cat guy. He actually called it out, like on his own, calling out Brody's quote unquote performance, saying, it's the scared guy. He kept getting a kick out of this. It's the scared guy.
Yeah, and there was a scene in the final sort of sequence where him and Jim Caviezel and somebody else they get under attack, and there was a thing, and it again goes back to them cutting out the dialogue scenes where Jim Caviezel and Adrian Brody just looking at each other going like this. And it seems like almost 2 minutes of footage where they're just looking at each other, and there was obviously dialogue there that was all cut out. And it's just maybe it's just for me because I'm like a film nerd who notices the edits and stuff.
You're probably catching more than the quote unquote the average Magoo like me watching a film. But sure, he was in Australia the whole time thinking he was carrying the film. This is what Brody had to say about this. He goes, "I thought I was the star. I was devastated when I saw the film. Terry told me, you're the curiosity that leads the audience through the story." So that's what he's told in the film. You're the curiosity that leads the audience through the story. Later, he said, it was the most painful professional experience of my life, but I'd do it again in a heartbeat, just to work with Malick again. He seems to think they were okay on set.
Yeah, well, when you look at the films he's made, like Predator 3.
Predators.
I call it Predator 3. Because I forgot the name of the film.
It's just Predators. It's clever. Isn't that clever? It's more than one predator. Predators. Okay. Elias Koteas, we mentioned him. I thought he was great in this film.
Now, I want that fella attack. I repeat my order. Over.
Colonel, I refuse to take my men up there in a frontal attack. It's suicide, sir. I've lived with these men, sir, for 2.5 years, and I will not order them all to their deaths. Over.
He was so good in this film, in my honest opinion, or my humble opinion, I should say, that I was like, why hasn't this guy done more stuff? I related to him as an older gentleman myself. He's an older leader of these young boy troop guys. I could see myself in that role, in that sense of being kind, considerate, caring about his soldiers, denying the orders of his superiors, saying, I'm not going to leave my men to death. I liked all that stuff. I thought that was a very strong part of the film.
He is a great actor. He's one of those guys that whenever you see him in, he's going to hit a home run. Like there's that legendary scene in Sopranos where he's the AAA guy.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and he's barely in it for 4 minutes, and it's some of the most quotable shit Everybody's like, "Hello, I'm Steve. I'm a alcoholic and drug addict." And then Polly Walnuts starts trying to fight with him, going, "Don't forget scumbag." And it's like, what are you doing?
That's pretty good. I've seen every episode once. That's it. I got to repeat view that. I got to watch that show again. Yeah, I love that character. It's good stuff. Okay, this is what Koteas says about Malick. He's a mystic. He directs like he's praying. Terry would whisper lines in Greek to me right before takes. No one else knew what I was reacting to. Speaking of Koteas and who he was bouncing his lines off, look, I think this is the healthiest I've ever seen Nolte in the film. Number one, I think this is the most healthy I've ever seen Nolte, the most sober and healthy. In fact, these last four gentlemen that we're speaking of were that's why I saved them for last, because I think their four acting bits were the best in the film, in my opinion. And I thought Nolte, the more repeat views I've done on this, I think he's really good in this. It makes you realize that this guy knows how to act. I think Nolte knows how to act. I thought he was great as the commander, lieutenant colonel, who's waited his whole life for this moment.
I don't know if you realize the importance of this operation, Starros. Once our position is secured, we can move the bombers in. That means air power for 1,000 miles in every direction. Guadalcanal may be the turning point in the war. It'll cost lives, Starros. Is that what's troubling you?
No, sir.
I'll explain to you the importance of this objective. How many men do you think it's worth? How many lives?
I can't say, sir.
Are you prepared to sacrifice the lives of any of your men in this campaign? How many? 1, 2, 20? Lives will be lost in your company, Captain. And if you don't have the stomach for it, now is the time to let me know.
No, sir, you're right. About everything you said.
Fine. Fine, that's all, Captain. One more thing, Starros. It's not necessary for you to ever tell me that you think I'm right. Ever. We'll assume it. Dismissed.
Yeah, no, Nick Nolte is a brilliant actor, and because he seems a little crazy, and he seems like the kind of person who has seen war and has seen trauma and has, I wouldn't say PT. Yeah, well, like, do you ever get when you can tell where somebody's trying so hard to battle with PTSD, in turn can come across as treating people poorly and stuff like that? I think that is what was going through Nolte's character.
Yeah, I just love his yelling when he's yelling, and just when he puts his hand through his hair and he's yelling at Koteas, like, get those men up the hill and take that, and just I don't know. I just love that whole the back and forth between these two.
I don't think you understand what's going on down here, sir. We've had heavy casualties. We had a man. His gut got shot out on the slope, sir. Created quite an upset.
Fine, fine. Now what about those reinforcements? Over?
I have 2 squads to first platoon I can send up, sir. Over.
What the hell do you mean 2 squads? God damn you, stop! When I say reinforcements, God damn it, I mean it. You commit everybody you have there and do it right now. Everybody. Your first platoon, too. I see him lying down there and the fat ass is doing nothing. You get a man to him right now with orders to attack. And you move him by the flank to the ridge. Then you get that second platoon, you move him over to the hill. Have him press the center. Go straight up that goddamn hill. You attack them right now.
I request to be given permission for patrol reconnaissance around to the right of Hill 210 through the jungle. I believe the entire position, sir, can be outflanked with a maneuver there in force.
No! God damn it, I tell you no! There'll be no flanking move. Now listen to me, Starros. You're not going to take your man around into the jungle to avoid a goddamn fight. Now, do you hear me, Starros? I want you to attack. I want you to attack right now with every man at your disposal. Now attack, Starros. That's a direct order.
Very different men who have different ideology. And the reason why he's so bent on this too, because his higher up is there. Nolte's higher up is there as well, watching Nolte perform. And this is how the military works, because I'm in this. You're always there to make your bosses look good, right? So his boss is there, so he's got to look good. So it's always the poop rolls downhill, as they say. So it's just interesting to watch the chain of command with the chain of command to the like this back and forth. So I admit, as a military guy myself, I found this back and forth really intriguing and very well acted. And it's the most, again, this is what I mean about Malick. When he decides I'm going to be consistent with the story, I'm going to stay on something for a while, I think it's really good. I think he brings out of his actors amazing stuff. And that's what it showcases with the Nolte Koteas scenes, is that he decides, for whatever reason, he decided, I'm going to make this one of the more coherent parts of the film is their relationship. And it works.
I think that is the film that it should have been, the power battle between the two different ranks during a war. I think that was the story we should have gotten. I think that their collisions, Elias's and Nick Nolte's collisions after I think it was the second battle sequence, I'm not too sure. I thought that's the highlight of the film. And it was just that sort of thing where, because Elias's character was completely right, but he's also in a military rank where it's like, you can't mouth off to this guy, like, you are right. So even though you're right and your idea saved lives and saved the day, you're going to have to take this browbeating and the brunt of his temper, because that's the way it is. And it was frustrating, and it was not funny, but just in the way Nolte's like, well, I don't think you've got this in you, and it's like, but he does.
Yes.
Staros, I'm relieving you of your command. It's a hard thing to do. Difficult decision to make. I don't think you're tough enough. You're too soft. You're just too soft-hearted. You're not tough-fibered enough. Anyway, it's my decision to make. I've already made it.
I don't like to see my men get killed, sir. Have you ever had anyone die in your arms, sir? Have you?
I don't see any reason to make a scandal out of this. I don't want it in the records of the battalion where I command it, and there's no reason for you to have it on your records. This has nothing to do with cowardice or inefficiency. Look at this jungle. Look at those vines, the way they twine around the trees, swallowing everything. Nature's cruel, Staros. I'm also recommending you for the Silver Star, and I'll recommend it in such a way it definitely won't be refused. Might as well have the Purple Heart, too.
Why?
Because of that scratch on your face, and because of those cuts on your hands. Now, you listen to me, Staros. I think it's best you go back right away with the next batch of wounded and prisoners. It is no goddamn good for you to keep hanging around. The quieter we keep this, the better it'll be for all.
And he's like, well, we're going to send you home. So he's doing him a favor while unfairly reacting to his, what do you call it, a subordinate's better idea.
It's incredibly done, actually. It really is the highlight of the film. Every scene they're in together, every verbal back and forth is amazing. Yeah, when Nolte quote unquote fires him, but also awards him, he's like, you're going to take those medals and you're going to get the F out of here type thing. He's mad. And then he says to Koteas, this character too, goes, you're just too soft. You're just too soft. And I love that, the way Nolte delivers that. But that's the irony. You're right. He's not soft. The fact that he's standing up to this bully and this brute and to protect his soldiers, like he calls them his sons. I thought that was beautiful, saying, you are my sons. That's my style of leadership, is what I'm saying. So I totally relate to that character. And I do not relate to Nolte's character as the way to lead, but I've seen it. Very brave to stand up to people who are bullies. When the chain of command is such where the person above you, it's hard to fight it, man, because they have that rank, but then they're a-holes about it, and it can be very difficult. So seeing Koteas' character stand up the way he did was really admirable.
Yeah, it reminded me of your interactions with Kaylee on our Paul Thomas Anderson roundtable.
Oh, how did I handle her? Was she a bully?
Not the way you want to. Don't edit that out.
Well, she's the best. I love her. And, I love how the one episode you invite me on, nobody can watch except for your paid members. I don't think I'm worth the draw. I think you need to make it public so people can see, what I bring to the table. Now it's like, people could be crapping on me in the comments. I want to read that. Oh, well.
Well, I got good news for you. After yesterday's stream, I got about, I think it was 8 new subscribers, 8 new members. So 8 more people will be watching that than they were yesterday.
All right. Well, maybe you'll have me on again. That won't be behind the paywall, but we'll see. But I had fun doing it, by the way. It was fun. This is what Nolte said about Malick. He's the only director who ever scared me, but in a good way.
Just on a Nick Nolte note,
yeah.
When was the last time you watched 48 Hours? That film has aged badly. The back and forth between him and Eddie Murphy, it's like at one point he flat out drops the word.
Oh no! Nolte says the word to Eddie.
Yeah, like they get into a fight and he calls him that word. I remember watching it quite recently, going, "Holy shit!" He's such a racist character.
I guess he's a racist. Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time. They made a sequel, didn't they? Another 48 Hours. It was called.
Yes, and little trivia point for you. So Eddie Murphy used to date Whitney Houston.
Oh,
and one time they were out for dinner, and she literally on her way to the bathroom met Bobby Brown for the first time.
Oh, that's right. Okay, you're right. I've heard. Okay,
yeah. So she ditched Eddie Murphy literally while she went to the bathroom and then never came back. Eddie fell into a depression and became addicted to. Now this is kind of hilarious. Soda. Became addicted to soda and all this crap. He put on loads of weight because of it. So when you watch another 48 Hours, this was just as Eddie was extremely depressed and still losing the weight.
Oh.
So another 48 Hours, big fat Eddie Murphy.
Okay, interesting. They should have really just called it 96 Hours. I think that would have been a better.
They should have, but that would have meant it was about 4 days instead of 2.
You're right. They should have called it 96 Hours divided by 2. That was no, that doesn't roll off the tongue very well. Okay.
I like it.
Okay. Sean Penn. I like Sean Penn.
I hate Sean Penn.
Why?
Well, I think Sean Penn, the actor, is great, but Sean Penn, the ego is shocking. And there's a part in this film where you could tell, well, not even you could tell, I mean, it's been confirmed that Sean Penn was then brought in to be part of the editing process. I find that because I read that before watching the film.
Oh.
Because it was during one of the battle sequences, a soldier is, because what happens not in war, but what happens in this film is one of the Japanese soldiers shot an American soldier in the legs or the stomach so that he would be dying slow and was in agony. Mm-hmm. And they were sort of trying to use him as bait to get him out for the Americans. So there's this like Captain America type sequence where Sean Penn does this big long run through gunfire so that he can get to the soldier and help him overdose on painkiller stuff. Morphine. So that he could die peacefully and then run back. And I just thought that it was simply in the film because Sean Penn thought that was fucking cool. I look so cool. I want to see that on the big screen.
And not only that, his character...
Sergeant, I saw the whole thing through the glasses. I wanted you to know I'm going to mention you in orders tomorrow. I'm going to recommend you for the Silver Star. It's the most courageous thing.
Yeah, you say one more word to thank me, I'm gonna knock you right in the teeth. You mentioned me in your fucking orders and I'll resign my rating so fast. And leave you here to run this busted up outfit by yourself. You understand?
And it's like, why? I just want to help. I don't want to get any credit. It's like, shut up.
I don't think you can actually officially refuse a medal. I don't think. You're awarded the medal, whether you wear it or not is your choice. At least in the Canadian military, you don't have to wear your medals, but you're given them whether you like it or not.
I thought that was super ironic considering how, when you hear all these stories about Sean Penn's ego in real life, that if he changes like even a single word of dialogue in a film, he will mention that every single time. It's like, well, in the script it said it's, but I changed it to it is.
Well, that's amazing. Good job, Sean. Now,
thank you. Look, I'm pretty great.
You are very great. Hey, say what you want about Sean Penn, but he betted peak Madonna.
But I will say one thing about Sean Penn that I do love is that he is still a great actor. Like we were just talking the other night about
Yeah,
one battle after another.
a lot of actors and or artists, that whether you're a musician, a novelist, let's just say, or even an actor, of course, on film or TV, some of it is, like some of these people just aren't the type of people I would call a friend. Their personality types probably aren't mine. I don't follow actors for their personal lives. That's why I kind of hate social media. I actually don't want to know any of them. I don't want to know who they are. I kind of like not knowing who you are because I just want to watch you on the screen. So the ones that stay away from social media, I kind of appreciate.
But Sean Penn's one of these guys that I think he's finally grown up now. But like, there's an interview I remember seeing an interview quite recently where it was in the 90s or maybe the late 80s where he went on David Letterman, and of course he starts smoking during it. Because he's tough.
He's cool. He's tough. You don't tell him what to do.
Look at it. He couldn't have had a quick smoke before he came out for this 5-minute interview. He has to do it right now on TV because he's hard. And then his interview, they were speaking about the fact that they were making a film in England and he got into a fight in a bar with some guy. Just like, oh great, I'll buy tickets then to go see your film because you don't know how to handle your drink.
I like him on screen. I'm not hanging out with him off screen.
Yeah.
This is what he said about Malick. He says, Terry is the only genius I've ever worked with.
I take it he said that before they did Tree of Life because he apparently Sean Penn hated that one.
Yeah, good point. I don't know when this was taken, this quote. It might have been during the fluff pieces of the DVDs. He said here, he'd call me at 3 a.m. from the editing room just to read me a new line of voiceover. And yes, just like we said, he helped recut the final 45 minutes when the studio panicked about the film. They called in Sean Penn, save this film with Terrence in the editing room. Last, I admit, I got drowned in the blue eyes of Jim Caviezel. Out of nowhere guy. I never met this guy before my movie life. He went on to do some great stuff afterwards. Of course, work with Mel Gibson playing that guy. I forget his name, The Passion of Somebody. Caviezel, I thought, was the soul of this film. I just loved his character. I really did. I thought he actually stole the movie. Every scene he was in, I just liked that he was goodness. When he was saying stuff, talking to Sean Penn's character, like, I've seen it. I've seen it somewhere else.
I'm sending you to a disciplinary outfit. You'll be a stretcher bearer. You'll be taking care of the wounded.
I can take anything you dish out. I'm twice the man you are.
In this world, a man himself is nothing. And there ain't no world but this one.
You're wrong there, Top. I've seen another world. Sometimes I think it was just my imagination.
Because Sean's character, of course, is the atheist. I think Terrence Malick is a Christian. So Caviezel, of course, is like the sort of the soul of the film, in that he's saying to Sean's character, look, I've seen another place. I know there's beauty in this world. It's not this war. It's not this what we're doing. It's kind of cliche, but it's this village people who are just living life. And what I liked about this story, though, is that we see that at the beginning of the film, right, that he's living with these people. He's AWOL. He's with these people who are simple life, and they're just, there to eat and cohabitate. But what's interesting, and of course you probably caught this, I don't think it's that subtle, but he revisits the village, and when he goes back, he sees that they're fighting. The men are kind of fighting, and it doesn't seem as peaceful and happy as it was, because his mind has changed of the world because of the war. That there's just fighting everywhere that humans seem to be designed to fight. And then, of course, when he dies, he's swimming with those. His memory is that heaven. I like that corny cliche. I like it. I get moved by it. I'm not religious. I think I'm spiritual, in that I like to think there's a better place after this world's over. However,
I thought it was excellent. His character would be very much like, if I was drafted, I would probably try and go AWOL. Like, I'm like, I don't want to do this fucking stuff. But I loved, there was the scene with him and Sean Penn when he's in the barracks, and Sean Penn basically said, okay, listen, you can't leave the army, but you're now back, and I'm going to make life very tough for you. Like, you're right back to the bottom. And instead of getting angry, Caviezel just goes, I'm more man than you'll ever be. I could take any role you give me.
Truth is, you can't take straight duty in my company. You'll never be a real soldier. Not in God's world. This is a C company, of which I'm first sergeant. I run this outfit. Now, Captain Starles, he's the CO. But I'm the guy who runs it. Nobody's gonna foul that up. You're just another mouth for me to feed. Normally, you'd be court-martialed. But I worked a deal for you. You gotta consider yourself lucky. I'm sending you to a disciplinary outfit. You'll be a stretcher bearer. You'll be taking care of the wounded.
I can take anything you dish out. I'm twice the man you are.
That's what I like, because if this was Sean Penn in that scene, he would have a change of dialogue. Like, what about if I tell him I'm going to kick his ass? And I like that. And Caviezel was like, okay, no big deal to me. I'll do it. But I do think that it's a shame about Jim Caviezel because he is a really good actor.
I think so too.
But he is very not that there's anything wrong with it, but he's very on the right.
Yeah.
And some of his public opinions are like extremely right. And I think it takes away from the fact that he can act his arse off. And I remember hearing that he was one of the actors considered for Iron Man.
Oh, really?
But some of the stuff he'd been saying behind the scenes, because Tony Stark is obviously he's a man whore. He had told people, I don't want any of that in the film, and I don't want any of the alcohol. And it's like, it's Tony Stark. That's what he does.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. It's just weird when people are actors. I hate to say this. I mean, I'm not an actor. I can play a murderer. I don't murder people. It's called acting. I don't know why he can't just drink from a bottle with water in it or apple juice. Like they do all the time. I don't think they drink real alcohol in the films in these scenes. It's just colored liquid. Like I don't think actors are really drinking alcohol in films.
He was a great actor and a great performance in this.
Yeah, and
it's weird that even looking back at this, it was from '98 until Passion of the Christ. He really didn't do anything big.
It was in Frequency with Dennis Quaid. Remember that movie, Frequency? Angel Eyes with Jennifer Lopez.
Hello.
Yeah. Pay It Forward with the kid from, remember Pay It Forward with Haley Joel Osment. But then, yeah, his big movie was The Passion of the Christ. Yeah.
I did see it. And of course, they're making the second and third one right now. And he's not back for it.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know why he wouldn't return. I don't know what the deal with that is.
Well, I've heard two theories. Is that one, they say he's aged a lot since 2004, and this is meant
we all
to be
have,
like,
I guess.
So that they say he's too old for the role. But I've also heard that some of his right wing comments have got to the point that even Mel Gibson, who's like openly Republican, was like, "Yeah, no."
So it's too much for Mel. That's something, eh?
Yeah.
This is what he had to say about Terrence. He goes, Terrence Malick told me, you're not playing a soldier, you're playing a soul. And I love this. I never caught this. Now that I hear Terrence Malick tell this to Jim's character, you can see why he acts the way he does. He says, remember to Jim, remember, you're already dead. That's why he's sort of kind of chill and at peace. Like, I'll lead the charge. I'll do this. Because in his mind's eye, he's not afraid. That's the thing. He has no fear because he's already dead. And I love that idea. That's a very, again, poetic idea, that the fact that he's not that he's actually dead in the whole film, but the idea that he's never leaving the island. He's already dead. So it doesn't matter what he does. He'll just keep going until it ends.
When you get a character like that, for a film, how long was this film? It's like nearly 3 hours.
3 hours. They cut out 2.5 hours, I guess.
Yeah. So when you get a film that's 3 hours long, it would be so much better if you could just focus on specifically one character's journey. If not, make a mini series. Because it's weird. As long as this film there's so many characters where there is no depth to so many people.
Yeah. Honestly, a tight film would have been Jim and Sean, yes. The two soldiers, their battle, because they're different power of leadership as well, and they're different personality conflict. And then Elias and Nick Nolte's. I think that would have been an interesting study. And then, of course, in the battles and the taking of the hill and all that stuff. So I think we've spoken to most of the trivia, but the couple of things that we missed that I thought was interesting is Billy Bob Thornton himself. He recorded 3 hours of narration.
Now, that could have been interesting, that if it was like a surviving soldier recapping the lives of the, what would you call a group of soldiers?
It just depends on the size. So I would say this is a platoon.
Yeah, see, I think that would have worked better, like a single narrator, because there's so many actors in this. Well, maybe don't look the same, but they sound very similar. So it kind of got to a point where you can't understand who's actually speaking.
And I agree with you. I watch all films with captions. I'm just a caption guy. Like how I watch movie and TVs. I was grateful for the captions because it would actually tell you who's speaking. It would say it's Train, or if it was Fife, or if it was Wit. So it actually tell you who the narrator is. So it does help to some degree because yes, their voices do sound similar. I agree. Some of these actors do sound similar. Check out some of the people that were pulled from the film that had filmed their scenes. Mickey Rourke, like you mentioned, Bill Pullman, Gary Oldman, Viggo Mortensen, and Martin Sheen. They all shot scenes.
That is crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
One of the first documentaries I had to edit was it was a thing. It was a bicycle protest where they were taking over the streets. I was given, like, if I remember, I was given like 6 hours worth of footage, and they said it can't be more than 48 minutes. And I was just like, what the? Like, and then they're like, but remember, you've got to talk about this, you've got to include this moment. And it's like, you film 6 hours for and that sort of stuff is just silly to me. To have a script this big and with all this money being spent, it's just overblown productions that sadly nothing was learned from this.
Well, speaking of a lot of film used, they shot 1.3 million feet of film.
Where is all that footage then? Like,
Gene Siskel said this is the finest contemporary war film I've ever seen. May he rest in peace, Gene Siskel. Lastly, this movie came out at the worst time possible. Why? Because it was released the same year that Saving Private Ryan was released. It's almost like releasing Star Trek the motion picture with Star Wars the same year. You're inevitably going to compare the two, though they have nothing to do with each other, right? Had this film been released 2 years previous, I think it would have been seen more and loved more. It has this not as I sort of say it's unfair, but all the criticisms that we've had of this film, and you in particular, of course, I think many people, is that whether it's the poeticism, the long to this, and the weird edits or whatever is, Private Ryan is it's a blockbuster. Tight sequences, credible, the D-Day storming. Everyone talks about those opening 40 minutes of the whole recreation of the storming of Normandy. Of course, we never seen anything like that before. This film, unfortunately, it's like a 180 of what Private Ryan is. Would you agree this was a poorly timed? Because they're both in the same war too, two different areas. This is South Pacific of Private Ryan, of course, at the beginning there of the D-Day. Yeah, I think this sort of had the bad luck of sorts of being released at the same time.
Yeah, and Private Ryan, which is really good film, but it's also one of these films that's kind of like a more action blockbuster version. With Saving Private Ryan, it's more of a I hate it, like an adult popcorn film, and that it's dark and it's harsh, but it is sort of an exciting story. We've got to find this guy, get him out of the war, send him home.
And this is my hot take. One, I'm not a big Spielberg fan. I don't know what it is about his aesthetic of films. That's why I don't know if I'm ever going to cover him on this network. There's something about, other than the Indiana Jones films, which there's something about the way he does films that makes it's always this weird, like, depressing mood. That being said, with Private Ryan, I feel like the first 40 minutes is incredible. It's amazing what they could do. Like, it's amazing what they showed and how they filmed it. It's a masterpiece in filmmaking. But almost after that's done, the movie's kind of boring.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I haven't seen it in so long that I'm just going by nostalgic memories. It probably is crap. But Vin Diesel was in it, so there you go.
Oh, yeah, it was, yeah. So I just hate that it's compared. I mean, if you're going to hate this film, as Hughezy pretty much does, at least hate it on its own merits. Don't compare it to Private. That's what I'm getting. I don't like it when people compare the two. It's just stupid. They have nothing to do with each other other than the fact they're released the same year. I still say see the film if you haven't seen it, dear listener. If you're actually listening to this season of Terrence Malick films, I'd be surprised if this is the film you haven't seen of his. But
yeah, I would basically say that there's certain films that you have to see. My opinion on this film is because I was I should say, a professional editor. I noticed it on the tactical scale, all these little things, like the random cutaways, simply because they just wanted to end the scene, and you go, there was obviously more to go. That was not like a final line delivery. People who aren't total fucking nerds like me probably would enjoy it better.
Well, maybe, and I did. And I'll be interested to see where this lands after seeing the first 3 films again of Terrence Malick's career at this time, where this lands. And as we go on to the next one will be New World and then Tree of Life. And after those 2 films, I admit, Hughezy, I have not seen his later films after Tree of Life.
I saw part of To the Wonder, and I just thought, I can't put myself through this. This is horrible. Because the unfortunate thing about Terrence Malick is that I like M. Night Shyamalan films, but he started picking up these habits as he went on that people were criticizing. And instead of changing, he's like, no, that's my style. This is how I make these films, and I will continue. And you think, fine, you're the one who's going to lose your audience, going to lose the ability to make these films. And that is what has happened to Terrence Malick. Like, I think at the minute he's making a religious film, which I think is going straight to Netflix. So it could be 10 hours long or whatever. I don't know. But I will not be watching it.
Well, I hope you'll listen at least to the other episodes that we do. But if you don't, that's fine. No, but I will say this about his last film that's been released was The Hidden Life. By his own admission, he spoke to what you spoke to. He actually said he's corrected himself. So I'll be interested to see how that film plays. It's another war film, actually. And I'll be interested to see how it plays because he said himself, like, I got a little bit lost. He admits that. We'll see how it plays if he does correct his, like, maybe it's a more finite story is what I'm saying. Like, not so poet and scenes and birds and trees.
Which films are Kaylee and Christian coming on to review?
So Kaylee's already done the second film, Days of Heaven, she did with me.
And what about Mr. Blatt, the toughest guy in the world?
He is probably the strongest guy I personally know.
Yeah.
Christian's doing To the Wonder.
Oof, I can't wait for these now.
Yeah. So there you go. And so yeah, here's the release. I got the whole release here. So we've got Christian doing To the Wonder. I have 2 other friends you don't know doing The New World and Tree of Life. And then Christian's doing To the Wonder. Truck Randy's doing Knight of Cups. Nice Doug is doing...
I've seen Knight of Cups. It's crap.
Oh, okay.
Knight of Craps. Shite of Craps. Hit the like button, everybody.
Well, yeah, please do. Thank you for the plug. And Nice Doug is doing Song to Song. And then lastly, Tony from Hack the Movies is doing A Hidden Life. Okay. So we've got a great panel, great co-hosts coming on doing these later movies. And I look forward to hearing their thoughts and why they love the movies that you don't love. Hughezy, where can people hear you and not me if they're not a paid member?
Well, to hear me, you can find my podcast. It's Hughezy Hello everywhere. It's all free. There's no paywall, anything. Just make sure you download it and then download it again for no logical reason. But for the video version, you can go to Hughezy Entertainment on YouTube. And how I record my show these days is I live stream. So you can literally interact with the show as it's going on. And of course, hit the like button and send donations financially to me, Adam Hughes.
But thank you, Hughezy, for coming. Always entertaining, always great. I appreciate your insights. Thank you so much.
Ahoy.